Shavua Tov, everyone, and Chodesh Tov. Welcome to video number 116 in our TillesTells Story Saturday Night Group. I adapted the story from the book Gudvach, an art school book. I titled it A Sensitive Stomach. Rabbi Chayim Halberstam of Sanz, who passed away in 1876, was the first rebbe of the Sanz, Klausenberger, Botlev dynasties. He is famous for his extraordinary dedication to the mitzvah tzedakah, and also as a renowned Torah scholar. His voluminous and wide-ranging writings were all published under the title Divrei Chayim. Failing health once forced Rabbi Chayim to make use of the mineral baths in Baden near Vienna. Hearing that a chasidic rebbe was in the area, a religious but curious Jew named Marcus decided to pay him a visit, arriving late Saturday morning at the Sanz Rebbe's Shabbos table. He saw Rabbi Chayim sitting at the head, surrounded by the Hasidim who had accompanied him on his trip, as well as those from Vienna and Germany who had come to be in the company of their Rebbe. As soon as Marcus had entered and sat down, the Rebbe sent small portions to him from each course that had been served, known as shirayim. Marcus ate a bit of the fish, a bit of cholent, kugel, and chicken, and soon after that, having satisfied his curiosity about what goes on at the Shabbat table of a Hasidic Rebbe, he left. Later that day, Marcus went out to a dinner in a restaurant, non-kosher as usual, and ordered a sumptuous meal. But as soon as he began to eat, he suffered painful stomach cramps and began to vomit. "They have served me terrible food here," he exclaimed, calling over the manager to complain. "There's nothing wrong with our food," the manager protested. "Well, just look at all the other customers who are dining on our fine cuisine without any ill effect. It must be you that are unwell, sir." Perhaps the manager was correct, Marcus thought to himself. He suddenly reminded himself of the renowned miracle worker he had visited earlier that day and decided to return to him and ask for a blessing that his stomach ailment be cured. He described his problem to the Rebbe's attendant, who went into the Sanz's room and related Marcus' request. "He's perfectly healthy," replied Rabbi Chayim. "There's nothing wrong with him. Go into the kitchen and serve him some kugel and he'll be able to eat it." After this snack, Marcus told the Rebbe's attendant, "Thank you. That was really delicious. I feel much better now. Please thank the Rebbe for me." Later that night, thinking himself cured by the Rebbe's blessing, Marcus decided to make a second attempt to dine at the restaurant. To his dismay, the afternoon's incident repeated itself. As soon as he started eating, the stomach pains returned and he began to vomit. Puzzled, Marcus returned to the Sanz Rebbe for an explanation. He said to him, "I was very ill this afternoon and your blessing cured me. But when I went back to the restaurant, the same thing happened again. I got violently sick." Rabbi Chaim smiled and told him, "There is nothing wrong with your health. But now that you have tasted our Shabbos food, your body can no longer tolerate anything unkosher. Your body has experienced purity, and now you can only eat kosher food." Marcus realized the truth in the Rebbe's words and accepted upon himself to observe the laws of kashrut, keeping kosher. One thing led to another, and he eventually returned to full observance of the Torah, even changing his name to Moshe. He returned to Sanz to live his newly chosen life in the community of the Sanz Rebbe, and was known as Reb Moshe Bal Tshuva. His previous education enabled him to write well in German, and eventually became the Sanz's secretary for all official matters, all official correspondence. After the Sanz Rebbe passed away, Moshe became a chassid of one of the Rebbe's sons, Rebbe Borach of Gorlitz. He would constantly seek Reb Borach's advice on how he could repent for his past sins. Speaking of past sins, we're now at Rosh Chodesh Elul, the final month, the final 30 days before Rosh Hashanah, the Day of Judgment. And Rosh Chodesh Elul is known as the time to do a cheshbon nefesh, a soul accounting, and thoroughly examine the past year to see what areas in our behavior and in our observance need improvement. That's something we should always be doing all the time on a daily basis even, but it has to be much more intense and much more in detail in the month of Elul. And as we Hasidim say, as Elul goes, that's the way Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur will go. And when there's a strong Elul, we can have a much more cheerful Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, confident that God will forgive us everything that needs to be given and will bless us for a good and sweet year.